Yeah.
We can go. So who's here? We got Paul. Introduce yourself here.
Today we had a club fair, so it's a bit smaller of a group.
Hi, I'm Rose.
Hi, Rose.
Amanda.
What's your name again?
Amanda.
Amanda. Okay.
I'm Finley.
Hi, how are you? And Paul, and I'm Bob. Nice to meet you. So what gets you guys interested in my marine biology?
Let's go. I'm just kidding.
Well, I really enjoyed working with Gotham Whale and
Yep.
had the pleasure to meet a lot of great people this summer. And I wanted to share a resource and a thing and an opportunity to other people.
That's cool.
I just like the ocean. I don't know. I like the sea creatures that are in there and all that. It just interests me. So
All right.
I love the ocean too. My family lives in Puerto Rico and they live by the water. So I grew up knowing a lot about conservation work and trying to maintain the balance in the ocean. So I'm just very interested in working on that more.
And I'm just interested in the environment, and I guess like marine biology is a part of the environment. And yeah, I just want to like learn about conserving the environment.
There you go. Well, there's a lot to it. I mean, we've seen a lot in the last 100 years or so. A lot of things that are happening. We're seeing certainly a lot more pollution now, a lot more plastic, a lot more damage that's being done to the ocean, coral reefs and that type of thing. So there's a variety of different avenues you can go into, what's below the surface and above the surface. Certainly, with the boats and that type of thing and the pollution. So that's one of the things that we want to really bring to the field is Gotham Whale. This guy, Paul Siswerda, had worked for the New England Aquarium for about 20 years up here in Boston. And I apologize if you don't understand some of my words. I'm up here in Boston, so some of my R words I might have to change so you can gather what I'm saying. And then Paul Siswerda went down to the Coney Island and worked in the Bronx Zoo and did some things with the Jenkinson Aquarium and the New York Aquarium, and really dealt with seals and walruses and dolphins. And when he retired, he saw that the whales were starting to come into New York Harbor, and he was really one of the first ones to notice that. And it attributed to a lot of things, but that's where the fish were. That's where they came to feed. And it helped that people were starting to pay attention to what we're doing in the environment, what we're doing with the air, and what we're doing with the waste that we're doing, with the pollution. And the whales started coming in. And about 2011, 2012, he became known as the Whale Man of New York. And he didn't like that title so much, but he liked Gotham, that it's big and it's, New York City and all that kind of stuff. So we just played around with a little bit and come up with Gotham Whale. And he started really reaching out and talking to marine biologists and scientists and people at Columbia and Rutgers and Monmouth and Stony Brook, et cetera, and started recruiting people to share. What is a dolphin? What do they do? What is a seal? What is a whale? I mean, there's 350 million people plus in the United States, and how many of them have actually been to an ocean, been to a beach, been on a boat? Not many. And then when they were started to come into New York Harbor, and we started photographing them and breaching and seeing that in the background was the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building or things like that. I don't know how many people are in New York, 6 million people, and 99% of them had no ideas that within an hour, whales were coming into their area. So he got a lot of publicity out. He was on ABC News. He was on different National Geographic. And we got the 70, 75-year-old, 80-year-old guy going out and recruiting people. So, I mean, Paul, you were on the boat. When you're out on the boat, there are people that are explaining what's happening, right?
Yes, the onboard naturalist.
Yeah. So explain to them how that works. You know, there's someone that's on the boat that is watching for the whales and then identifying and then really sharing some stories. So what are some of the things that you heard or some of the experiences that you had just going out there the first or second or third time?
So in the captain's quarters, there's the naturalist, and she's in charge of being on the radio and explaining where we are, if we're close to basically land, like where we are geographically, what kind of fish to expect in the area, what the whales eat. So maybe like, for example, bunker was a lot in the Jersey Shore. So the whales eat the bunker. So that was like a big thing. She was like explaining to the guests, like, look out for that fish because you might see a whale. And she also took pictures of the tails to basically trace it to see if it's the same whale we've seen previously, and to log it, because there's no real way of logging specific. You just gotta trace the tail as a marker.
Yeah, it's like a fingerprint for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like their identification. So, so these naturalists, they have to be up to speed as to within a couple seconds, see the whale, see the tail, and then, ooh, I see this, this, and this. I can identify that's whale number 17 or 27 or 300. We're up to 400 whales that we've identified in our catalog, which is pretty incredible. And so when they catalog it, they have to write down the time they saw it, the longitude and latitude and all that stuff, right? So, and then take a bunch of pictures so that we can put it into our catalog. And then I think one of the photographers or the naturalists would take a picture of the whales and then take a picture of just a flat sea to know that that was the break between that whale and another set of pictures for another whale. They had to have like a little space in between of the pictures. So, and then we take that information and we send it to our researchers and our catalog, and they look it up and then they identify it and put it in the log. And then eventually it gets added to our catalog. So, that's the initial stages of what we call our citizen science project. And we're trying to get everyone that sees a whale to let us know where they are and what they saw, take some pictures so that we can add to that. So we've got a citizen science project that we're really trying to develop up and down the East Coast, and collaborate with the Mid-Atlantic catalog of their whales and Happy Whale and Flag Whale, and there's certainly a lot of things out there that we can collaborate with. But we're primarily in the New York Bight and Jersey Shore doing that. And it takes intense focus and preparation, but also the love and the passion of doing something that really brings some value. So, you know, when you're out there and you're seeing a boat, what are the experiences that you're feeling when you see this probably one of the oldest living animals in the world, just 100 feet from you and just jumping up and waving to you or looking at you? Has anyone else been on a whale watch before?
I was, but we did not see, we didn't really see whales. It wasn't a
Yeah.
good day for it. It was like really like cloudy and the water was really rough, so we had to turn around.
Yeah. So that's disappointing, but you know, we've got other events coming up. I don't know how you guys are from Jersey Shore, but we're doing on September 21st, we're doing another one, a fundraiser, but there are a bunch of events that we'll be having, and certainly we recommend that you get out there and get out there with your family and friends so that if you miss something, they saw something and they got a picture and that kind of stuff. But you know, one thing I'd have you do some research on is what they call the value of a whale. You know, you figured, all right, this is big, massive animal out in the ocean, but what does that do for us? What does that do for humans? What does that do for our economy? You know, I mean, are you familiar with what's in our atmosphere and what we breathe? What do you think is the most popular, gas in our atmosphere? Nitrogen.
Nitrogen, carbon,
Yeah.
yeah.
And where does the nitrogen come from? Nitrogen comes from the releasing of, lack of a better word, the digestion of the animals in the ocean. So when the whale gets full, it goes down to the bottom of the ocean and releases its gas, so to speak, and that actually gets filtered up and feeds a lot of the animals from the bottom of the ocean all the way to the top. And then when it gets to the top of the ocean, it becomes nitrogen and is added into our environment. So we need whales and other mammals in the ocean to, use that as their, for lack of a better word, toilet to help us be able to breathe better, So there's this guy, Ralph Chalmey, who has discovered the value of a whale and what it does for the whole ecosystem. And we try to protect our whales from anything they run into. You might have seen in the last couple of weeks that there was a fishing boat up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where a whale was feeding, and they stay way down in the bottom. They're a couple of 100 feet down, and they noticed that their meal, so to speak, is in the upper levels of where the ocean is and the sea level. So they come up and they try to get as much as they can. And it just happened that there was a boat there, and they tipped over the boat. That guy had to jump out of the boat, and they had to rescue him. But these fishermen were in their kitchen. They're feeding. So that's one of the things we're trying to do with our awareness, not only with the citizen science, but to let people know where the whales are and what they're doing and how to avoid damaging them. Never mind getting them caught in ropes and nets and lobster traps and things like that. So that's a lot of our advocacy of what we're trying to do with trying to protect the whales and other mammals out there, turtles, etc., because a lot of them get caught up in that. And never mind the plastic that they're getting tangled up in. And you see some of those rescues every once in a while where they'll have someone from the aquarium or from NOAA go out there, and scuba divers got to go in and cut the nets off or cut the plastic off and that kind of stuff. So we need people like you guys to be part of that process of what can we do to protect them, whether it's a story, whether it's research, whether it's learning how to skin dive, or what you can do to really educate the people out there of what these whales really mean to us. The other part of what we're trying to do with Gotham Whale is to bring more of an experience to people, almost like a tranquility, peace, connect with nature type of thing. Because there's so many people that are stressed. There's so many people that are isolated. There's so many people that are like, I'm okay. But you get out in the ocean with some strangers or some friends, and you see some dolphins go by, and you're excited, and all of a sudden, hopefully you get a chance to see some whales, depending on the weather and where you are and how far you're going. Paul, give me your idea of if you were anticipating seeing a whale and then you actually saw one, what was that experience like?
It was just insane because you don't realize how massive and like insane they really are. It just was mind blowing the first time, especially just to see. It was so close to the boat on one of the breaches, and it was just incredible. Like I couldn't believe it was really there. Like it was just like you see it on nature channels and National Geographic, but seeing it in real life is a whole different experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're trying to work on part of it too, to say, all right, what's the anticipation, you know? I mean, I remember going way back in the day with my grandparents. You know, they're in their 70s and I'm in my 20s or whatever, and they had never been in a boat for 2 hours, never mind going out there and seeing a whale. And just to see their eyes pop out of their head, like, that's like 5 times bigger than an elephant. You know, they've been to the zoo and they might have seen an elephant or something, but and then to see it just leap out of the water and then splash and then come over and kind of flap their tails and wave at you and kind of communicate with you. Like I said, you get pretty close. You can't get that close to the orca whales out in the West Coast because they protect them, and they're much smaller. But you know, if you guys ever have an idea to see, I mean, there's different types of whales out there. You're not going to see really a lot of massive whales because they're endangered to some extent. So we're trying to protect them as well. So that's one of the things we'd love to have people write about it, tell stories about it, do videos, post stuff on Instagram and social media about why you're interested in marine biology, why you're interested in the environment, what are the things that you would like to do to help us, you know, protect them. What are your ideas? Is there posters that you guys can develop? Is there different things that you can put on TikTok to kind of like, hey, people in New York, guess what you have right in your backyard? You know, we have, I don't know if I can put a picture in here or not. I think I can. Let's see. Let's do this, see if this works. If you guys can see the chat.
Is that its
So we're
eye?
looking at some, you know, that's a whale that's looking at you, right? You know, hey, you're checking me out, I'm checking you out. I mean, how close do you have to be to see that picture? I mean, 50 feet, 100 feet, maybe you zoom in a little bit. So we're trying to come up with different slogans and saying, hey, I'm looking at you, are you looking at me? That kind of thing. You know, watch out for me. You know, any slogans that you can come up with that kind of thing that kind of like, hey, they're in our backyard. They're in the harbor. They're only an hour away and they want to say hi. Yeah. So we're looking for creative ideas to put something like that together. Any kind of programs, because part of what we're trying to do is to educate. Let me see what else I got here. And let people know that there are whales right there. So these are some of the things that are, that's probably not a great picture there, but let's see if I got another one now.
Are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, let's try that. I'll put it there. And let's see. All right, so for instance, here's some of the whales that you might see out there. We got the finback, we got the minke, right whale, the humpback. So this is from Plum Island up here in Newburyport, Massachusetts, and they have the Mass Audubon Society. So they do a lot of stuff with not only the birds and the coast, and they have binoculars and whale watching trips up here. And this is just a little sign of some of the things we're looking to educate the people about. You know, the right whale is one of the rarest and most endangered species in the North Atlantic. And the sperm whale is the biggest. We don't have a picture of the sperm whale there, but so there's a lot of different. Let's see what this one looks like. So these are just some of the people that sponsored an event at the Jenkinson's Aquarium. Not a great picture there, but
I don't think that one went through.
yeah, that one didn't work so well. No. Um, so do you have any questions? Do you have any kind of thoughts about what a whale means to you and what it might mean to you if you ever get out in the boat and see one?
Are there any that are like potentially dangerous around the New York area?
Yeah, the whales are pretty close to, they come into the harbor. Let's see if I get a picture of another one here. All right, so here's one idea for a poster that we did. Get back to you in a question in a second. So this is something we did up here in Boston. I'm looking for you for help, but we're looking for other ideas there. And let's go here for this one. This is something we put on an apron while you're cooking. Hey, we're swimming here,
Mhm.
That's a cute one. And let's see what we got. This one loading up. There we go. Yeah, that one's not too good. All right, let me try another one here. All right, so this is the first picture that we actually took of a whale in the harbor. And that looks like the Empire State Building in the background now. So this guy, Artie Rashlish, has been with us about 13 or 14 years. And that's what we call Jerry the whale. That's the first whale that we ever saw. And we're actually putting together a program to see if anyone can identify Jerry. We haven't seen him in a couple of years, so he's about 15 or 16 years old. But we've saw, I think, whale number 4, I think, earlier this year. So of the 400 whales that we've been tracking for 13 or 14 years, whale number 4 has been back. But we got almost like a Where's Waldo program that we're trying to find. Where's Jerry the whale? Not all of them are identified with the name, but this was our first one. But you can see how close he is to the shore. I mean, it's pretty amazing to see a whale that close. And a lot of it really had to do because the climate has changed. The water is warmer. The fish are closer. The harbor was clean. or cleaner. So the whales are coming closer to us.
What's the difference between the whales from New York versus like up by Maine or Boston?
Well, they go really from the islands, Costa Rica and Puerto Rico and that stuff, all the way up the coast, all the way up to Maine. Some of them just hang around certain areas because that's where they feed. Not a lot of them make it all the way up to the cold water up in the Maine area and Nova Scotia. So that's some of the things that we're trying to find out, you know, how far do they go? Where do they stick around? I mean, like this whale number 4, where has this whale number 4 been for 5 years? Did it go all the way up to Nova Scotia and turn around? Does it head off to other parts of the world? A lot of the whales pretty much on the West Coast, they stay in the West Coast, and on the East Coast, they stay here. Whether or not they travel to other parts of the world, like in France and England, there's so much that's undiscovered about these things. You know, with the sharks, you can tag a shark and you can put a GPS on them, but the whales, you really can't. A lot of the ways that we identify them are either from the sky, and we're having some drones out there to try to follow them by their tails. And then having people like us, you know, with the citizen science, identify where you saw them. You know? So that's an interesting question. We really don't know exactly a lot of them, and that's why we need more people to step up and say, where did you find them and where did they go? Let's see if this, you can see this thing or not. So we've got some fundraisers out there to try to raise some money for being a science steward or marine science enthusiast, you know, a citizen science leader. It takes money and funds to do that. So that's one of the things that we're trying to promote out there, is to raise some money and raise some volunteers. And then we have this one here as well. So I can find that one. This is another cool picture too. So, you know, graphic artists and painters, and we've got people that are sculpting. You can see some of the things. I don't think the Statue of Liberty is in this one here, but so we want to, you know, we're looking for creative people out there to kind of put stuff together for us to get that outreach. Let me show you this thing here too. Well, this is a fly that we have for coming up September 21st. It's in the Jersey Shore, though. You know? But imagine seeing that thing, you know? You're just hanging around, you're kind of bored, you're like sitting there, there's nothing going on. All of a sudden, this thing just jumps out of the water and splashes you, you know? And this is going to be an afternoon sunset cruise, which is pretty cool. Trying to find the citizen science little brochure that we have. I'm sure I got it here somewhere.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's starting off in conservation work, trying to get into the preservation of wildlife and their habitats?
How does say that again?
What advice would you give to someone starting off in conservation work, just starting out with that type of work?
Oh, I got you. Okay. I think the biggest thing is to be curious. I want to know more. Tell me. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. I think it starts with that open-mindedness that this is exciting. And this is something that energizes you and that you become passionate about. So it's kind of an instinct. It's kind of like, Paul, you mentioned, the anticipation and then the experience. It's something you never forget. You're going to be talking about that first whale you saw when you're 85 years old or 90 years old. And be like, grandchildren, let me tell you about this. You got to get out there. So those type of things, if you're curious and you want to find out how, anything. I mean, when they get stranded, there's a lot of people that are involved with why did they die? Why did they get stranded? And that's a whole field in itself, is to figure out what do they eat, and did they swallow a whole bunch of plastic? Did they get hit by a boat? Did they just get disorientated? Did they get dehydrated? Did they run out of food? There's a lot of things that they contribute. So if you ever did biology and dissected a frog or something like that, they do that with whales too. And there's a whole bunch of information they're trying to find out. One of the things we mentioned already is that the temperature of the water. Do certain whales like better conditions, or do some whales, up in the Nova Scotia area like the colder water? We don't know. How do they communicate with each other? We don't know that either. There's some people, we've got some people on our team that do the audio sounds of fish and the audio sounds of whales and dolphins. And how do they communicate? They tend to think that there's some kind of alphabet that they can understand, because they can hear for about 2 miles. So how do they know where to go and where the fish is? They can't really see that well, because if you can see the picture we had before, their eyes are on the side of the head, not in front of the head. So they got to really go by other ways of detecting where they are and where they're going, and sonar and all that type of stuff. But my advice is that if you find something that's interesting to you, go as far as you can. And you might go a different directions. You might like, all right, I'd like to study how they swim or how they communicate, or I'd like to learn about what they eat, or, how they add to our environment with their nitrogen and all that kind of stuff. And what other things that go through that whole food chain, of supplying all that energy and that nutrients to the tiny little menhaden that are out there. What are we doing? There are companies out there that go in and go in and just with vacuums and suck out 2 million menhaden, and then they crush it and make pellets out of it for cats and dogs. What happens if they take them all and there's no food for the whales? So that whole protection of, getting involved in legislation, that to protect a certain amount of overfishing. You see that with lobsters nowadays. You can only get lobsters at certain times of the year, in certain areas, because if you overfish the lobster, and then next thing you know, they're not reproducing, and then, like some of the whales we talked about before, some of these whales are endangered. We'd had something at Jenkinson's Aquarium a couple of weeks ago that there's a laquita. It's a small porpoise. It's not really that big, maybe 4 feet long or something. There's only like 15 of them left in the world. Maybe you become part of that environment to protect them. And they're in the Sea of Mexico. There's only a certain spot of the world where they are. But there are people from Japan and other parts of the world that want to go because they're valuable with their skin and whatever nutrients they're getting. So we have to protect them from people overfishing them or killing them or using them for research or something like that. So it starts with an open mind and a curiosity, and then just dive in. And then your gut will tell you, I don't like this, but I like this. Okay. And you surround yourself with people that are in that same enthusiasm, that same passion. So part of it is maybe just, like Paul did, just get on a boat and talk to the naturalists and interview people. I'm not an expert in any means of biology. I don't have a marine biology degree. This is a lot of stuff that's new to me. I'm the executive director of Gotham Whale, and my job is to find people like you and find out what you guys like, and then put you in that position to, all right, go for it. Tell me a story. Do some pictures. Do some research. Let's bring this to the schools, the high schools. If you want to teach, you want to share, you want to put a presentation, you want to help us with social media, you want to help us with any of the different categories that we have to outreach to people and say, even on the mental health side of it, we're trying to do team building and bring in businesses that are stuck in an office. Come on out for 3 hours in the whale watch. You're going to have a totally different experience, and you're going to be a different person. When you're back to the office, you're going to be talking about it for years and say, how cool was that? Man, Jimmy, Mary, uh, you know, all the different people, they're like, wow, we love this company, but they're bringing us out there and stuff. So the other thing that we like to do is some of the people that really can't get out there, some of the people that are maybe disabled, or maybe that they're boys and girls clubs and things like that, to bring not only organizations, but bring kids and bring people that might not be able to get on a boat. Hey, we'll get a sponsor and we'll put you out there for a couple hours, and it'll be safe. You'll have chaperones and stuff, and open your eyes up to connect with nature and smell that salt water, and to get splashed on by a whale or a dolphin, or see whatever else is out there, because you never know what else is out there too. Different types of bird life and that kind of stuff. So there's a whole variety of things that we can get you involved with. Are you involved with any kind of studies with um, the ocean, or with animals? I mean, have you been to like an aquarium, or is anyone that kind of seen those type of things?
I think
Yeah.
everyone's looking for, yeah.
No. And is that stuff? I mean, you ever seen like the penguins in the aquarium and all that kind of stuff? So there's a whole range of different things. It doesn't have to be whales. I mean, we're doing stuff with whales, but it gets to a level that maybe that's just part of what we do. But if we see other animals out there, we certainly want to let them know, because we're collaborating with whales and dolphins, with sea turtles, and certainly the things that are on Long Island, the horseshoe crab. I mean, all of those things are part of that whole ecosystem of what a whale brings to the world. And I mean, the horseshoe crab is another thing that's all around Long Island, and they've been around for millions of years. So we work with those type of people too, to say, that's an ugly little thing. Yeah, but they've been here for 30 million years. Whatever they are doing, it's working for them, and we got to protect them, because who knows? I mean, there's a lot of people that are scared that things are going to happen in the next 10 or 15 years if we don't do something. So we got to step up and do what we can to protect that environment and protect the oceans. Anything else that's coming up on your mind that you want to? All right, let me just show you one more thing here. If I can find it.